I'll get back to this later. What do we got here? Classic. Like. Hashtag. I'll get back to work eventually. It's only been like 2 minutes. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brain Hacks. I hope you guys are enjoying these episodes so far. If you are, make sure you give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe so you can stay tuned for the latest episodes that are coming out every single week. But in this episode today, we're gonna be talking about how potentially unhacking your technology, I know it sounds weird, could actually make your brain more productive and save you potentially 50 hours every single month. Don't believe me? Let's find out. You know, we live in a day and age now where there's more technological advancement happening every single week than there were in the decades prior. It's absolutely phenomenal. In our pockets, in our cell phones, we have access to a supercomputer, and it makes our lives so much easier. We have access to more technologies, more people than ever before. It's absolutely fascinating and mind-blowing, and it changes every single week, it seems like. But what if I told you this advancement in technology that's supposedly making our lives easier is actually making our brains less productive? See if this describes you. Are you someone you wake up first thing in the morning before your feet even touch the floor? Are you checking your cell phone for notifications, emails, or texts? Are you checking your cell phone every hour, every half hour, every 10 minutes, even more? Are you someone, and I'm totally guilty of this, you're watching a movie, you're watching your favorite TV show, and while you're watching that, you're actually checking your social media? I've been 100% guilty of that, and if you are too, it means that you are absolutely being hacked by your own technology. Let's break this down a little bit. I learned this from Darren Hardy, and what Darren showed me is that there's 3 types of brains that are running at all times. You have your primitive brain, and this is the part of the brain that's running your autonomic systems. It's basically running your heartbeat, your breathing, digesting all that food you had earlier, and thankfully all these are running subconsciously. We're not aware of these, or else that'd be quite challenging. The other less than 5% of our brain is our monkey brain. Now, this was a primitive system of our brain that was really made for protection. It's the part of the brain that basically looked for, is that one berry poisonous? Is that rustle in the bush something that could potentially be a predator? It was always looking for that new thing or that shiny object that could potentially be life-threatening, if that makes sense. And then the other part of our brain, the last 1% roughly, would be our sage brain. And this is the part of the brain that wants to make an impact. It wants to live for a higher purpose. It wants to do good in the world. That's our sage brain. Now the trick is, between our monkey and sage brain, they're constantly battling for that last 1% of real estate. And unfortunately, the more you engage in that shiny object, the more you engage that monkey brain, the less real estate your sage brain is going to get. Now, thankfully, we live in a day and age where we're not having to deal with that poisonous red berry or a lion that could potentially be in your bushes or maybe in your bathroom, right? We live in a day and age now where that shiny object is now emails. It's news notifications, it's text, it's social media, it's these different things that are plugging us back into our phone and basically keeping us distracted. Now, is that such a bad thing? Yes, it is, and I'll tell you why. There's a saying in brain science that says the brain wires the way it fires. Basically meaning the more you engage in a specific activity or engage the brain in a specific activity, it's going to lay down more wiring in that pattern to make it easier to do and simpler to do the next time. Now, that may not seem like a bad thing, but what happens now is the more we engage in that monkey brain, the more we engage in those texts, the more we engage in the distractions of the social media and news notifications, we are actually laying down more wiring and make it easier for our brain to become distracted and disconnected. Basically making sure that we're staying plugged into our phone and we're disconnected from the people that we're around, we're disconnected from our community, and actually making our brains less productive at work especially. And this is a big issue. There was one study that found that people, when they got disconnected, when they were unable to focus again, it took on average 25 minutes for them to get refocused, to get back into the zone. And they found on average that it was costing them 2.5 hours of productivity every single day. You know what that adds up to every single month? 50 hours every single month of productivity you could be putting back into your work schedule. Imagine what you could do with 50 extra hours every single month. All right, so what are we supposed to do about this then? You probably can imagine the logical conclusion is that we gotta stop engaging in our monkey brain. We gotta start activating the sage part of our brain. And just like we were talking about before, just how we learned and taught our brain to actually become hardwired to be distracted, to constantly look at that shiny object, you can actually do the opposite. To hardwire your brain to become more engaged in the sage brain and put yourself in the driver's seat rather than always having your brain constantly wanting to get distracted. Because what I find with most people, including myself when I first started applying some of these strategies, is that you'd be very shocked at how hard it is to apply some of these strategies, to how much your brain really wants and desires that connection to your phone and actually wants to become distracted. And you have no idea how much it's disrupting your normal day-to-day activities. So here's some of the steps and tips that have made a huge difference for me. First one is leave your cell phone on airplane mode in the morning. Hopefully you're sleeping with your phone on airplane mode, but when you wake up in the morning, don't check your cell phone for notifications and emails. Leave it on airplane mode. Go throughout your morning, read something, meditate, go through a morning routine without having to plug in to your phone. And there's so many reasons why, including not just hardwiring your brain that way, but also you're not putting in the nonsense that typically social media and news could feed your brain first thing in the morning, which could stress you out or start making you compare yourself to other people. So there's so many different reasons why first thing in the morning, do not check your cell phone. Leave it off, leave it on airplane mode, put it away somewhere, and don't engage into it until you're ready to. Number two, limit social media times. This has been huge for me, really helped increase my productivity, is really limiting the times in which I engage in social media. So now I have set times during the day where I'll actually engage. I'll look at my Instagram, I'll look at my Facebook for about 10 minutes, gonna comment, reply to people, send some emails real quick, and then I'm back doing what I need to do to be productive and be effective throughout my day. Number three, turn off notifications. Notifications have become so advanced now, they literally access every single system of our body. So it's almost impossible not to get distracted when all of a sudden you hear something, they activate your senses. You hear something on your cell phone, you hear it vibrate, you feel it vibrate, and then all of a sudden this light comes on your cell phone. How could you not engage and look at your cell phone and become distracted by that notification? So simplest way, turn off your notifications so they don't light up and get all these sensory systems activated. Number four, talk to human beings. This is a really, really fascinating one. I found it's been very fun to actually talk to other people. It's really fascinating. And the reason I say this is because I've seen so many times when me and my wife go out on dates where people are sitting across from each other on a date night. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, not sure. But they're sitting there and they're on their cell phones the whole time. They're not engaging and connecting with one another. And that is just a prime example of becoming distracted and disconnected from other people. So when you're out on a date or when you're out with somebody else, don't have your cell phone out. Connect with other people, talk to other humans. It's really fascinating what happens. And then number five, in some scenarios, some of you may need to actually leave your phone in the car. If you're one of those people, you're just like, I really need to fully disconnect and I need to go to rehab for my digital, then you need to leave your phone in the car. I've done this before. There's times now where I don't need my cell phone in the grocery store. I don't need my cell phone when I get a haircut. I don't need my cell phone in certain aspects. And it's just another way for you to help yourself and leave that willpower out of it. Just leave your cell phone in the car so you don't have that temptation always there to keep looking at your phone. Now that doesn't always apply to everybody. If you're at work or you're at home, obviously you want your cell phone, don't leave it in the car. But in some scenarios, it definitely can be very helpful just to leave your phone in the car so you know you won't get distracted. Hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Brain Hacks. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Stop engaging that monkey brain. Hopefully you can start hardwiring your brain to become more productive and save yourself a ton of time every single month from having to get refocused. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If so, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe using that red button down there somewhere. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Brain Hacks.